In this video, we're going to be talking about the new PMP exam that's coming out in July of 2026. PMI just released the entire exam content outline, and there is a bunch of changes that I believe is going to make this test incredibly hard. And I'm going to prove that to you guys in this video. Couple quick things. It's now easier to qualify for the new exam than it was before. That I thought was pretty cool. But the exam to me is going to get significantly harder. I'll prove that to you in this video. Let's get started. I'm Andrew Ramdial. I am the author of the world's best-selling PMP study guide, PMP Exam Prep Simplified, and creator of Udemy's best-selling course with over 500,000 students. Let's get started on this. So let's just get right into this. So the yesterday, which was November 13th, PMI announced the new PMP exam comes out in July of 2026. Today is November 14th. Later on in the day, they released all the information on the new exam, including that it's going to get longer. So let's go right into this, and I'll show you guys where to find this information, and we'll take a look through the exam content outline. Let's get into this. All right, let's go to pmi.org so you guys can follow along with me here. I'm going to go to certification. We're going to go to PMP, and the website is still showing the old exam because the current exam, which I guess is the old exam now, is valid until the end of June 2026. So this is all the old exam. All of this is still the old exam. I want to point out something to you guys that the old exam, the current exam, which I guess is the old exam, in order to take it, you need to have a certain amount of experience, either 60 months or 36 months if you have a degree or not having a degree. And this all has to be within the last 8 years. That's the current requirement for the current test, right? This changes. You'll see what I mean. Let's go down here. The new exam coming in 2026. Let's click on Learn More. And takes you here. All right. So now it's telling you about the new exam. And let's go through a couple of the things here on the pages. So PMI is saying that they will be doing a pilot of this exam starting in January 5th to the 30th, 2026. People can take a pilot, which means that you could take this new exam as an optional test. I don't recommend doing that if you want to get your certification because you may not know the scores from months to end and there's really no study materials for it. But if you're brave enough and you want to give it a shot, you could. The exam fully launches with the fully updated exam objectives in July 2026. They don't have an exact cutoff date. It could be any day in July. They'll let us know later in the year. PMI materials, such as their e-learning classes, their study hall products, and so on, will be available in April 2026. And my materials will be available in that around that time too. I am writing a brand new study guide for this exam as the new exam content outline is here. It's going to be much better than the one I have currently. All right, let's continue going here. I'm going to download this here in a second. Couple of quick things they're just saying right off the bat. What did they add? Well, we all know AI was going to get added to this test. It adds topics like AI, sustainability, and stakeholder engagement. I always thought stakeholder engagement was on the test a lot, but they're saying they're going to add more. Shifts more focus to outcomes and value instead of processes that they had before. Couple of quick things you'll notice that the exam drastically changes the terms of percentages. The old exam was 42% people. This is managing your team, managing your stakeholders, engaging your stakeholders. Now it's gone down to 33%. Knowing those 49 processes, those agile ceremonies and artifacts goes from 50 to 41%. And this is big. The business environment, which is more of regulations, organizational policies and procedures, goes from 8% to 26%. That's a huge jump in there. It still covers predictive, agile, and hybrid on the new exam. And here's where it changes a little bit. Before, your experience going back needed to be within the last 8 years. Now they're saying that the experience could be within the last 10 years. So that's good because there are certain people, I know people that have never qualified to take the PMP because their experience, I know one student in particular, she wanted to take the PMP, but her experience was going really far back. So she couldn't do it. But I think she qualifies with this new thing. And there are some new, it says 3 to 5 years. There's some new things in there. And this is the part that I think this exam is going to get a lot harder. The old exam, 230 minutes for 180 questions. Now it's 185 questions in 240 minutes with interactive scenario based questions. You'll see what I mean in a minute. The exam to me is going to get a lot harder because of this. Let's go through the exam content outline, and I will show you guys what I mean. Just a couple quick things on the timeline. If you want to take this pilot, you want to take this new exam for whatever reason and share your feedback, it is going to be 20% cheaper, I'm assuming. Starting December 15th, you can start signing up to attempt this pilot. April 26th, PMI releases all their products. The new exam comes out July 2026. All right, nothing else here on this page. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to download this exam content outline, which I have right here. All right, here it is. The exam content outline. Let's go through this here. A couple of quick things here that we want to mention. Nothing here. It's telling you it's going to be, of course, this exam is going to pull a lot of its content from the PMBOK Guide 8th edition. So no need to read 6 or 7 or any more. But remember, this exam content outline is not based on the PMBOK Guide. There are other books that PMI uses to make their exam. So I want you guys to understand that. Although the PMBOK Guide 8th edition is going to be one of the main texts it uses, the exam is based on this, not necessarily the PMBOK Guide. All right, let's keep on going here. So this here we mentioned that people is now 33%, 41%, 26%. Seems like a nice even distribution across the three environments versus the old one. This I thought was pretty cool, but some things that changed. Check this out. Look at what it says. Let's zoom in here. Look at what it says here. Approximately 40% of the items will represent predictive project management processes, the predictive project management approaches, whereas 60% will be divided between adaptive, agile, and hybrid. So that changed. Before it was generally 50-50. Now agile, hybrid gets 60% versus predictive has gone down to 40%, which I think kind of makes sense because in the current world, a lot of projects are hybrid. In other words, part of it is done in agile, part of it is done in predictive. And some people say, well, that's not for all projects. It technically could be, because if you think about it, most software projects are basically agile right now. Even construction projects, designing a big structure can be done in iterative or incremental ways, but building the structure could be done in predictive ways. So yes, giant construction projects, the majority of them are probably going to be predictive, but they could include components of adaptive methods, which brings me to a hybrid method. So I think PMI is absolutely right. 40% predictive, I would assume it would have even been lower because so much of the world has incorporated agile into their projects. Let's keep going here. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire domain, all the different things that the test will test you on, because that's not what this video is. When I make the new course, when I make the new certification study guides, I will go in depth into this. We'll get a new mindset to go with this in here. And this is what the exam will cover. This exam content outline is what I use to write the books. It's what I use to make the course. So I go over this and I cover this in depth. Like task 1, develop a common vision, have a shared vision with key stakeholders, promote the vision, keep the vision current, and so on. I will use all of these things that you guys see here, from leading the team, managing the conflict, engaging your stakeholder, and so on and so on. That's all the people. Here's all the processes. I will utilize all of this when I make the course, when I make the book out there. And if you remember in my current courses, I have an entire breakdown of the current exam content outline, reviewing all of it. So we'll go over all of this in the course itself. No need to go over it right now. Okay, moving on here. And this is where it changes. So this is interesting. Check this out, guys. All of the experience has to be within the last 10 years. Now, this is big because since I remember myself, the experience always had to be within the last 8 years. So now they're going back up to 10 years. I think that's pretty cool. The next thing that's changing up, before there was 2 levels. If you had a bachelor's degree and above, or anything under a bachelor's degree. So if you had a bachelor's degree and above, it was 36 months of experience you had to show. If you had anything below a bachelor's degree, you had to show 60 months. But now it kind of changes it. Watch. If you have a high school diploma or a GED, you have to show 60 months, or basically 5 years, of leading projects within the last 10 years. They're all within the last 10 years. That stays the same. But if you have an associate, completion of an associate level, higher certificate or advanced technical vocational program, this is good. You need to show 4 years of experience. So this is brand new. This line right here is completely brand new. Now, I think that's pretty cool because I met a lot of people in the trades that have certificates in plumbing and electrical, and those people always working on projects. But there was no way for them to show that. They always had to show this 5-year thing. Now they only have to show 4 years. So I thought that's pretty cool. Associate degree, higher level certificates. Thank God PMI added this and recognized people in the trades that don't have. Listen, you don't need a bachelor's degree to be a plumber or an electrician, yet those people are vital to the function of society today. Bachelor's degree, this is going to stay the same. If a bachelor's degree or higher, any kind of bachelor's degree or higher, and even advanced professional qualification, 3 years of experience. This doesn't change, but it's all within the last 10 years. Now, PMI has accredited some organizations and some degrees. You can click on the link and find out more about it. If your degree qualifies, you can check that out. You need to show 24 months of experience or 2 years of experience in there. All right, so this changed up a lot. This, I think, is great. It allows more people to qualify, more people to take the exam. Moving on here. You still need to take your 35-hour class. That hasn't changed. It's 35 hours of commercial training and project management aligned with the topics covered in this ECO. Where are you going to get this from? Well, of course, they're authorized training providers and other things, including accredited higher institution like a college or degree, employer-sponsored programs, and then this is where I fall into, training companies or consultants or training schools like myself, my Udemy self-paced on-demand, which includes an end-of-course assessment. So yes, the Udemy course would still count. Taking a live training with us will, of course, still count for that 35 hours. Thank God for that. For me, anyhow. Moving on here, they're telling you you could use, if you have a degree and you want to prove that degree gave you the 35 hours, they kind of outlined that, how you would do that right here. Moving on here, they tell you how to do your application. I'll do a video as this exam gets closer, how to outline your application, how to do your experience on this one. It's basically the same thing as the other one. Now, let's talk of the test itself. Now, I started this video by telling you guys that this exam is going to get difficult. And I want to point out something to you guys. Most people that takes the current exam have a problem with the timer. Most, not all. A lot of students runs that clock. What do I mean by that? They finish in just enough time. Yesterday I was teaching my coaching program to a bunch of folks, and one person told me he passed the exam and he had about 3 or 4 seconds left. In other words, 230 minutes, 180 questions, almost ran out the clock. This exam is different. This exam is even longer, and they only give you 10 minutes more with the bigger questions. Let's take a look at the new questions that are coming out, and then I'll tell you guys why this is a thing. So number one is, it's 175 questions will be scored. 10 of the questions will not be scored, and you don't know what they are. Your objective is just to get as much right as possible, as you do on any exam you've ever taken. The exam now goes 5 questions more. It was 180, now it's 185 questions. But you do get 10 minutes more to answer those 5 questions. But here's the problem. You're saying, okay, 5 questions. All right, 5 questions, 10 minutes more, but the questions are much bigger. You'll see what I mean. The other thing I don't like here, look at this. Right now, if you take the current test, you're going to get 2 10-minute breaks. Notice what it says here for the PMP. There are 2 5-minute breaks. The first breaks occurs after the case study section, and the second breaks occurs approximately midway through the independent portion. Let's break this down. The case study section. So there is going to be a whole section on this test where it's a bunch of case studies, which will consume your time. Please know that once you review, you can't go back. It's saying, so wait a minute. There are 2 5-minute breaks in the exam. I'm not a fan of that. 5 minutes. What are you going to do in 5 minutes? By the time you get up, you go to the bathroom, you come back 5 minutes. It's probably not even enough. That's crazy. It is still going to be an online exam. The exam is preceded by a tutorial. All that things takes 5-10 minutes to complete. So not good. I'm not a fan of this. PMI. What are you doing here, PMI? 2 5-minute breaks? Really? What? Come on, man. You know what 5 minutes is? I went to the kitchen. I got myself a rice cake and I came back to film this video and I realized 5 minutes had passed. Yeah. It's crazy. That's not good. 5 minutes. Why didn't you keep the 2 10-minute break? Why 5 minutes? Come on, man. Not good. Not happy with that. Very, very upset on that. I don't know. You know what I'm assuming? The people that wrote this is already PMP certified and want to make your life miserable. I don't know. I don't have any other saying. Why do we do that? Think about this. You read a whole long section. Your brain is fried. You take a break. You get up. For a minute. You come back. Oh, come on, man. Not good. Not happy with that. Keep the 2 10-minute breaks. PMI, if you're watching this, Mr. Pierre Lamont, Mr. CEO, I know you got the power in the company, man, to change these things. Please keep the 2 10-minute breaks. Please reconsider it. The exam has not launched. You're going to give people bigger questions. Please keep the 2 10-minute breaks. Not happy with that. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at the new questions. And this is called case or sin. This is brand new. And this is where I believe this exam is going to get a whole lot tougher. Look at how big this is. I'm not going to go through this case study. The candidate will be presented with a detailed scenario situation, which may include, so it's not just text, graphs, and charts for additional context. After reviewing the scenario, the candidate will answer a series of questions. Now, yesterday I did a video on this. I told you guys, this is how scenario exams are based on. I've taken a lot of exams like this. We're going to give you this giant amount of paragraphs to read. The CISSP exam was like this a while back. And you have to read and read and read it, probably 4 or 5 paragraphs, like you see on the screen here. And you got to answer a bunch of questions on it. Now, I never thought these were really difficult on other exams. I don't know how difficult it's going to be on this test, but this will consume that time. And it to me, it's harder because you have to memorize a lot of stuff. You have to remember. In the current exam, you just got to remember a few sentences worth of data. Now you have to memorize 5 paragraphs of word of data, and then you only get a 5-minute break. Come on, man. So it seems like the exam is going to be split up into the first section. So it seems like they're going to have a section of case studies, and then they're going to have another section of multiple choice questions. That's how it seems it's going to be. All right. So you got this giant case study. We just talked about this. Then you have enhanced matching. So we already have matching questions. But this is an enhanced matching. So they're going to give you a graph and you got to drag things onto the graph. Like, is this where it's ahead, where it's behind schedule? This to me, I think is going to be pretty easy. Just understanding and reading graphs, burn up, burn down charts, I think is pretty simple to understand. New questions you're going to have is called a graphics-based question. The question requires the candidate to refer to and interpret visual information. So they're going to give you graphs, diagrams, and images, and you have to read it and then answer questions on it. I thought they had this before, but something similar, but I guess they're going to enhance it more. This stays the same. Multi-choice single responses. So multiple answer choices with one correct answer. That's common. They have that now. Multi responses, multiple answer choices with more than one correct answer. All right. So none of these here has changed. We already have this. Point and click. They give you a graph and you got to point where something is going right or wrong on the graph. They have this right now. Nothing new. Matching questions. Nothing new. They give you things and you got to drag things over. Did a whole video on this before. Nothing new. Pull down. This I have not seen before. This seems, they're not calling it new, but I've not seen one before, where you got to select from a drop-down list. Almost the same basically as a multiple choice, I guess. All right, moving on here. Taking the exam doesn't change. You can take it in person at Pearson VUE. Also as an online proctored exam that you can still take at home. I was kind of worried that PMI may pull the online proctored exam due to people doing bad things with it. Proxy testing, if you know what that is, where you hire people to take the test for you. That's a bad thing still happening today. I was hoping they would have kept this because it just makes it more accessible. So that doesn't change. You have 1 year when your application is approved. You have exactly 1 year. You get 3 attempts at it. God forbid you fail in 3 tries. You still have to wait 1 year to retake it. That has not changed. All right. That concludes everything here on the new exam. Now, my take on this. Here's what I want you guys to do. Take the current test. This new test seems, yesterday I predicted that this new test is going to be super hard. After seeing this thing, oh my God, this doesn't look like a easy test. This looks like a pain to do. I don't think studying for it, I read the entire PMBOK guide 8th edition last night, like almost the whole book. Took me about 5 hours. Sat and read basically the whole thing. And it's not a very big change. It's nothing revolutionary, nothing that I haven't learned before. But here's what I'll tell you guys. This exam is not to be played with. 185 questions, 240 minutes, 2 5-minute breaks, scenario galore, a whole section it seems to be on scenario. And they're going to wear you out because they're giving you a break after this, 5 minutes. I don't know. I think scenario-based questions are harder than memorization. You see, scenario-based questions is about choosing the best answer. And when you have to choose the best answer, it makes the test more difficult. It makes the test, because now you have to play between 2 answers. And that's where the mindset is going to be really, really important. So what I would tell you guys is, listen, it's November 14th. Take your test, man. Take your exam right now if you could. Because you got 7.5 months until July 2026. You got a lot of time. The current test is well known. The mindsets are there. The practice questions are there. The video courses are there. The study guides are there. All the materials are there. People know this test. There's tons of things on forums of what people are using to study and all that. This new test comes out, it's going to be months before people understand. Like when I make my study materials, I'll be honest with you guys. When I make study materials, I'm assuming it's effective until students come back to me and say, hey, Andrew, you missed that topic. I got a question on this you never covered. Then I'm like, I got to update it. And this goes on for months on end until we realize how effective the study materials is. And it's not just me, it's going to be everybody. So the point is, take your current tests. Now, here's what I would recommend to you guys. You have from now until June, the only time, my recommendation, that you should be studying for this new exam is if you are going to start studying in like June of next year. Like if you're starting to study in June of next year, for whatever reason, you don't want to study until June, then study for the new tests. By then, a lot of materials, PMI is releasing it in April. I'll release it around the same time. So the point is, get certified. If you can do it before June, go do it. If you start studying, if you can only start studying by June, maybe you got a job thing or they're going to pay for it in June or something, then you're stuck with the new test. That's what I recommend. And with that in mind, guys, if you found value in this video, give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel. I have a whole bunch of interesting information. I have a whole mini course coming on PMBOK Guide 8th edition in a few weeks. Check that out, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video.